And we're recording.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everyone, and welcome to the March 19th, 2021 meeting of the Sacramento County Civil Service Commission. In compliance with the directives of County, State, and Center of Disease Control and Prevention, this meeting is live streamed and closed to the public. Temporary procedures are subject to change pursuant to guidelines related to social distancing and minimizing person-to-person contact. To make a verbal comment at today's meeting, please dial 916-875-2500 and follow the prompts to be placed in the queue for a specific agenda item or off-agenda item matter. When the chair opens public comment for a specific agenda item or off-agenda item, callers will be transferred from the queue into the meeting to make verbal comment. Written comments are always accepted. Please send your email comments to boardclerk@saccounty.net. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. Thank you very much. And just for those of you that are watching, some of us are on video and some of us are not on screen, unfortunately. So we apologize. We're having some technical difficulties. I am Alice Dowden-Calvillo, the Commission Civil Service Commission. One of our commissioners does have his video working, Commissioner Gordon Purdy. If you'd raise your hand, Mr. Purdy. There you go. Our other commissioners are not on video. We have Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner, let's see here, Nelson, who is our chair, and Commissioner Blose, who is also not on video. So just so that you know that, but they are present and they will be discussing and taking action. Nick just raised his hand. So
I'm good. I was just showing my hand.
Thank you very much. Anyway, so we appreciate everyone's patience on this. Some staff are available and some are not. So we're going to learn through this and get through it together. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it over to you to call the meeting to order.
All right. The Civil Service Commission, March 19th, 2021 is now in session. Gina, can you do the roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Bloise,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Present.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yo.
Commissioner Purdy,
Here.
Commissioner Suter. We have a quorum.
And let the record show that Commissioner Suter did contact me earlier today saying that there was an unseen circumstance and he was unable to participate today. Let's see here. Actually, we have our public comment. Mr. Chairman, did you want to read that statement?
I suppose. I don't think we'll have any, but we'll read it. Anyone may address the commission regarding any item not already scheduled on today's meeting. And it is within the commission's subject matter jurisdiction. You can email at boardclerk@saccounty.net. The commission may not take action on such items except as authorized by Government Code 54954.3 and Civil Service Commission Rule 14.13. I don't think there's any comments, is there?
No, there's no comment received.
Okay, so now we will move on to the consent matters.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, before we move on, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce the acting DPS director, Joseph Shea. He is here and he is on video. He can raise his hand. Mr. Shea has replaced Dave Devine, who recently retired, you all know, and he has more than 20 years with the county. And he is a familiar face because he has been before this commission in his early days. We were talking the other day and he said that he had represented the department in some exam disqualification appeals. So he is not a stranger, but I invited him here today to have an opportunity to say hello. And would you like to say a few words?
Sure, love to. Thank you, Alice. Good afternoon, commissioners. It is my honor to attend the commission meetings after such a long hiatus. And I'm currently, as what Alice had said, I'm currently serving as the acting director of personnel services until the recruitment can be done. And I look forward to working closely with the commission. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. We truly appreciate that. Commissioners, did you have any questions for him?
Mr. Shea, Bruce Nelson here. Nice to
Chair
see you or hear
Nelson,
you again.
likewise. Unfortunately, your video is not up, so I couldn't say that I'm seeing you, but maybe next time.
Maybe next time, yes. So, any other comments to the esteemed Mr. Shea?
Joseph Shea, this is Mike Johnson.
Commissioner Johnson.
I wish you well in your new position, and but as I'm looking maybe down the future, and you are too, do you see a need any place within the civil service system that we have now for amendments? I'm not asking for specifics, but amendments or changes of how we can improve our system and change moving forward with the times that are going on. And I don't know if that has crossed. I mean, I know your plate's probably full and to add more to it, but I didn't know if you've given that any thought.
Unfortunately, I have not. Just trying to juggle it all, and but that's something that we can certainly have further discussions on. I'll check with the staff and then work with your executive directors, and we'll see if we can, like, say, moving forward with technology, better, more Zoom meetings, possibly. Saves on the travels for you, for all the commissioners, right?
Don't hurry.
Okay. Thank you, and I wish you well. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson.
Good luck, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, Alice, I think we'll move ahead with the consent matters. Before we get started here, I want to tell all the commissioners that we're going to do a roll call vote today on all these issues. So just so you know ahead of time. So we'll do the item 4 and 5, which are the consent matters. Do we have any discussion on that? Nobody? Let's see.
Motion to approve,
Second,
boys.
Okay, I'm sorry. We just need, my cat got stuck in the comforter on my couch.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
No, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Could you please tell me who made the motion?
Nick made, Commissioner Blois made the first motion, I think. And
Mark Johnson seconded.
Johnson
Okay.
seconded. Okay, and now we need a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Blois, how do you vote?
aye.
Commissioner Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Purdy, how do you vote?
aye.
Commissioner Suter, how do you vote?
Let the record show the motion has been adopted unanimously, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Next item is item 6, which is the Personnel Service Monthly Provisional Report. Ms. Honey, I believe you are on camera.
Yes, I am. It's nice to see those of you I can see. I do not have any updates to the provisional report for the month of February 2021. Everything is status quo. There's only 2 provisionals at this time. So unless you have any questions for me, I request that you please receive and file the provisional report for the month of February 2021.
This is Commissioner Johnson. So moved.
And Purdy, so second.
Okay, Gina, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Blois, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Purdy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Suter, how do you vote?
All right, let the record show the motion has been adopted. It sounds like somebody has a radio or a television in the background. And because I'm afraid if we unmute, we may not be able to mute again. I just would request that we turn that down because the meeting is recording. Thanks.
Okay. We'll now move to item 7, which is the reclassification plan for the traffic sign maintenance worker series. Do we have an appearance on that? Miss Alves, are you appearing for this?
Yes, I'm here.
And just before we have staff proceed, I just wanted to read for the record, this is the revision of the Sacramento County Classification Plan as recommended by the 2020 Traffic Signs and Maintenance Worker Series class study. We do have, there's somebody has feedback in the background. There's something else playing. Is someone on a phone? Is it
Sounds
just
like
me?
someone at DMV.
Does anybody? All right, I don't know where that's.
Stucker.
Huh?
It's Rebecca Stucker.
Oh,
Rebecca, can you mute yourself and then we'll try to unmute you?
sure.
Yep, that seems to be where it was coming from. Thank you. All right, commissioners, you do have my analysis and recommendation before you. And as was mentioned previously, we have Ms. Karen Alls here who will be presenting this item with experts from the appropriate department with Robert and John. So Karen, please go ahead.
Sure. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Karen Alls, Personnel Analyst with the Department of Personnel Services. We request that your commission approve the proposed revisions to the Traffic Signs Maintenance Series. The Department of Transportation requested that DPS remove the tanker endorsement requirement on the Traffic Signs Maintenance Worker 3 class, as it is no longer required to operate their equipment. The Department of Personnel Services, with concurrence from the Department of Transportation, request that your commission approve these revisions to the class series. John Ronkowski and Robert Cooley from the Department of Transportation and I are here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, I just have a quick question, Commissioner Nelson here. On the union representation here, it looks like there was no appearance by Local 39 on this matter. Is that correct?
We met with Local 39
Okay.
and sent out a closeout letter to them.
And I actually need to interject because they did reach out to me late this week and let me know they had no concerns with the study. So I apologize. I had that in my notes to let you know that they did reach out to me just saying they had no concerns based on the information that I provided to them.
Okay, thanks, Alice.
Mhm.
Commissioner Nelson here, one more question, not one more, a couple. On the duties of this classification, the MQs, one of the items here is fabrication and installation of traffic signs. So the question I have is the people who come to apply for this job and they just say, yeah, I have lots of experience. I made these traffic signs at San Quentin for 5 years. Does that meet the MQ?
You mean making license plates?
Traffic signs, license plates, yes.
Are you talking about for the Traffic Signs Maintenance Worker 1 class? There is a volunteer MQ. And
I think it's the 2 and 3 class are the ones that have the fabrication of the signs.
for the fabrication of the signs. Let me see. Well, so it'd be 1 year full-time paid experience in the fabrication. I'm not sure if somebody at San Quentin would be a paid full-time employee of those signs. So I wouldn't think that that would qualify.
Okay, I'm just checking on that. So,
Mr. Chairman, we do have Commissioner Johnson has his hand raised.
okay,
And also, commissioners, if you'll please try your video one more time, because it looks like I was able to perhaps unlock something and it may work now. Commissioner Blois is now visually available. So Commissioners Johnson and Nelson, when you have an opportunity, if you could please try to turn on your video, that'd be great.
Oh, there's Johnson.
Wow.
Hi.
Good to see you, Commissioner. And Commissioner Nelson.
I'm here, yes.
Are you able to turn on your video?
It's on, but I don't see it on here. Let me see.
There
Oh,
you
it is.
are.
Perfect.
Okay, all right.
It worked. All right, so the other staff members, Miss Alls, you can probably try your video and see if it works now as well. And I think that I have, there it is. Okay, so now we have the ability to put yourself on camera when it's your turn to speak. But if we can keep the commissioners on, that'd be great. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, as I mentioned, Commissioner Johnson had a question.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes, for DPS, I have a series of questions. On your report on page 2, it'd be the second paragraph. You talk about traffic sign maintenance workers 1 and 2 class specifications are being updated to the current County of Sacramento standards. Are you referring to, with that statement, going back to hazardous materials endorsement and tank endorsements?
So for
Or
the
there
one-
were were there other standards that I don't know about?
just formatting standards and how we do our class specs now, with having MQs just have one pattern instead of an internal and an external pattern. So that's what we were updating for the 1 and the 2s.
So that you're telling me, I want to understand this specifically, is that DPS has made a decision for whatever reason, good, bad, or indifferent, that many of the patterns we have that are internal and external both now are all going to be somehow comprised the same because DPS has decided that's a good thing to do. I would like to know, one, who made that decision. I assume it would be the director. And 2, what basis are we making the change? I mean, it could be a good reason, but
Mr. Chairman,
we have
sorry.
created new standards. I'm kind of dumbfounded that you bring it here and just going, here, take it, here's our standards. And I don't want to disagree with you. I just want to learn more.
So Commissioner Johnson, this is your executive officer speaking. Actually, it was direction from county council with regards to the, and I think it actually, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, legal counsel, or even Joseph, you may have that information, but I believe that it was handed down by the courts that we could not establish 2 separate patterns for internal and external because it was being discriminatory. You're not allowed to give advantage to establish a separate pattern. So it has been.
Alice, not to interrupt you. That's great. And it's good history. You know it. They know it. I, on the commission, have never seen that in any type of writing before. It would be nice to know that, other than somewhat getting blindsided.
It has been, yeah.
Because what I'm hearing now is all patterns that are maybe one towards internal and external are now going to be done away with. Is that what I'm hearing?
That has actually been in practice for the past many years since I've been on the commission. Anytime we've had a class study that had 2 separate patterns, they have been condensed into one. Our last class study was this the last meeting, the class study that was scheduled had the same thing. So it's been in practice, Mr. Commissioner, for many years now. And that was so.
Okay. I would like to know the basis of it, and it's been in practice, and sometimes this could be an extremely good idea. I'm also reading this classification. When we get up to supervisor, for whatever reason, it is not being considered in this classification. Their standards are internal and external. So are we going to in the future be changing that one, or where do we draw the line and not? I don't see a consistency.
I will I need to pull up the actual class
that's
study.
all. I mean, I got the answer. You're saying the courts have made a ruling. and we're going in this direction. I know it has been discussed over the last 2 years of why we do it or how. And I just wanted to know if this is the new, what I think, updated to the new current County of Sacramento standards. And if that's it, I just need to know.
That's it.
And I would like to know, all right, the next thing I'll ask, dumb thing. You suggest retaining all the lists, the promotional list, 1, 2, and 3. The lists are good, what, for 3 years?
3 years, yes. And there is one on there that has fallen off. And
It looks like you get pretty close to 2. But with that, you've been running your list for a full 3 years because you've had enough applicants and candidates on those lists that have worked out okay?
I'm not sure.
I mean, you didn't run out of people to hire. The department felt the list is still current and left it in effect.
The department might be able to answer that better if they've had people on the list that they've been able to hire.
I would assume then they would.
Or
do another
they would have
test.
abolished it.
Okay.
And John Ronkowski, he has his hand up. He's from the department. He might be able to answer that question.
Yeah, so I think the question was, have we had enough applicants on the list? And we have, but we want to re-up those lists because they're getting older. But what's been holding us up is this class study. We can't do the list until this new class study is done, and it's been several months. So once this is approved, hopefully today, then we're going to probably ask for some to refresh those lists.
Okay. On the changes made on the maintenance worker 1, we still, all right, I'll go. You were asking for 30 semester units from an accredited college, school, apprenticeship program, et cetera, in construction trades or closely related field. Does all 30 units have to be within those fields are closely related?
Correct, yes.
They do, because and it's been 50 years, regrettably, went to junior college. To get an AA degree, I think you had to specialize in 24 units, but there were requirements for English or history, any variety of things that were there. Those units would not be required or would not count. Only the 30 units in those fields.
Right, in those construction, trade, or closely related fields. That's correct.
Okay, so if I took an English class or a history class that was required of me, that would not count.
Correct.
So what you're anticipating, whoever is going to use the educational version of getting in there, it's going to take them, other than 1-2 semesters, which are full 15 units semester. It'll probably take them more like 3 or 4 semesters if they take anything else trying to get an AA degree. But
Right.
if it works for you, I just want to understand.
And there are also several trade schools within Sacramento County area that offer these classes. And they might not go by semester units, but they might go by clock
Yeah,
units.
okay.
Would accept that.
In the old standard, or on this standard, you're allowing full-time paid or volunteer work
Correct.
experience for what? In the old standard, which we're eliminating, is part-time work. My question is kind of why, just curiosity, because you're allowing volunteer work and
Well, the volunteer work would just have to equal up to 1 year of experience. So they could work 20 hours, but it would have to
so
equal,
you're still going to allow part-time work?
it would have to equal 1 year.
Right, I understand that. It says that part-time work in the above pattern may substitute on the basis of 173.6 hours, et cetera, towards 1 year, but you eliminated that.
Right, that's our old standard language that we were using. Now we use full-time, paid, or volunteer work in our standard. And
Okay,
part-time,
paid, all right, paid will cover the part-time work then.
yeah, and part-time work would be calculated to fit the full-time equivalent.
Okay. And let's see, my list of questions. The other one kind of looking at the MQs is we've seemed to reduce them other than maintaining what we had before. From the, twos, we went from 1 year and 2 years, internal and external, just down to 1 year, and did the same thing with threes, which was 2 or 3 just to 2 years. So it appears your requirements are a little bit reduced.
All the participants.
So for the 2 and 3, we used the internal pattern because what they were doing was equivalent work. And it was found that it was justified that the internal work
I can't do it
is
if you
the
don't
same as
let me
external
hold
work,
it. No, you can hold it.
making it a sufficient amount of time to qualify for those classes.
Okay. And we're doing away with the internal, external, because I think explained to me by Alice by a court decision. Looking at, I think my last question, looking at the 3 is, it appears reading the new MQs that there's more emphasis on training. Do you feel the MQs are going to be sufficient enough to get the people you would want to be able to know how to train? Since there's nothing being required of that.
The department, I felt like that would be sufficient time in the class to be able to, or in that work, to be able to fulfill those requirements.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Commissioner Johnson, just to quickly address, you had mentioned the supervisor class, which was attachment B, and that particular class is actually not being addressed by this study. So whenever that particular class is up for study, I'm confident that the staff will be moving to make that into one qualifying pattern. I put that in there as attachment B, just so that you could see that the lower classes would feed into that class with no problem with the MQ changes. So that's why it has the 2 patterns, because it's not part of the study and they're not proposing to change that at this time.
And thank you for putting it in there, and it was helpful. And as maybe you in your earlier statement that this is we need to not differentiate between internal and external because of a court decision, et cetera, et cetera. Is it possible that you could get that sometime for us?
I know that it was an opinion that was written by county council. And so I will circle back with them because that's where it came from. Did our council look at it? This is something that
I haven't seen it yet, but that was predated my my representation.
It was many years ago that that came down, and even Carla may have more information, but I'll get with her. But there was I know there was a legal opinion. I thought that it came from the courts, but I know that county council rendered a decision in that. And so also, I wanted to let you know that we do have Commissioner Suter. He is here. He's trying to get his video to work. So, but he is here, and we can hear everything on your end, Commissioner Suter. So any talking that's happening in your space is also being recorded for the purposes of our meeting. Just wanted to let you know.
Thank you. Sorry I'm late. I was on the road and I couldn't get in.
But thank you for being here. So we will let the record show that Commissioner Suter appeared at 2:07. Madam Clerk, if you could please put that in the record. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if there are any other questions by commissioners on this study.
Yes, I have a question. On the minimum qualifications, a little summary here, it says traffic sign maintenance worker 2 and 3 have been collapsed into a single pattern using the current years of experience internal candidates can use to qualify. So my question relating to that is, why do you still have a 2 and a 3? Seems like you could morph that into 1.
They do different work. John Ronkowski might be able to talk about the work that they do, but they do different work. One's a lead over a crew that operates different equipment. So they do have different job duties. We did collapse it. So an internal candidate and an external candidate have to have the same qualifications to get into that class.
So when you read the requirements here, they are very similar. If you
They
needed
are.
a lead person, you could just make one of them a lead person. You wouldn't have to have 2 different classes.
Right. I think it's the type of equipment they use, but the department might be able to talk about that.
Yeah, this is John Ronkowski again. So yeah, they are very similar. There's a couple things that differentiate. We have what we call our stripers. There are 2 big machines that do all the striping on the roads, and those are going 6 to 8 months out of the year, and those are operated by our 3s, and they're in charge of those machines. They're pretty sophisticated machinery, and that's probably the biggest difference of those 2. And we don't have a lot of 3s. We've only got 4. We only have 4 people in that position of a 3.
Yeah, it just seems to me that, you have a group of people who are basically doing the same work here. If there's some kind of a compensation that you want to allow for the people who are operating that kind of machinery, then that would be one thing. But, to have 2 different classes, and are there only those people in the 3? There's only 4 people in the class 3 that operate those machines?
Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's the way it is. All right. Okay. Any other discussion, gentlemen?
I have one last discussion, kind of follow up on your question, Chairman. The 3s need to have at least a Class B and need to have a hazardous materials endorsement.
They don't need that. It's management's discretion, because I think in years past, they used to have a hazardous endorsement, but then our products changed, because now all of our products are water-based paints now. In the old days, it's oil-based. So they're not required to do that, but it's management's discretion, and we haven't had to do that in years.
Okay, that's very informative. I know, I believe it's still true. At one time, if you did get a hazardous materials endorsement, you were subject to ongoing drug testing, which sometimes caused issues in the workforce.
Well, right now we're under the federal mandates for drug testing. So any of our employees that have to have a commercial license, so it doesn't have to do with the endorsement of hazardous material. It's once you have to have a B or an A license, you're in that federal program for random testing. So that's the way that's handled.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other discussion, Gina, would you have a roll call vote?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, you need to have a motion, and first, if
Oh,
we
yes.
could ask if
We do have
there's
a
any
motion.
public comment. Is there any public comment on this item?
No public comment received.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, you can ask for a motion, and your executive officer is recommending that you adopt my recommendation, which is essentially to revise this particular class study, including changes to the minimum qualifications for the following classes within the traffic signs maintenance worker series: traffic signs maintenance worker 1, 2, and 3, and then you refer these recommendations to the Board of Supervisors for their concurrence.
So I guess Ms. Alice has said it all here, gentlemen. Do we have a motion?
I'm motion to accept Alice's motion or statement as the
Thank you.
motion.
I will second that one. Now, Gina, you can have the roll call vote.
Commissioner Blois, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Purdy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Suter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Let the record show the motion has been adopted unanimously. Mr. Chairman, the next item on our agenda is to move the revisions to the Sacramento County classification plan as recommended by the 2020 election series class study. You have my report and my recommendations before you, and we do have staff present here today. Ms. Karen Farrell will be taking the lead on the presentation, and she has the Registrar of Voters and the Assistant Registrar of Voters here as well to answer any specific questions that you may have on this particular proposal. Ms. Farrell, you may start. It's all yours.
Good afternoon, Karen Farrell, Personnel Services. We request that your commission approve the proposed revisions to the election series. The recommendations in this class study ensure that class specification documents reflect modern language and work methodologies for the elections process, as well as ensure continuity and consistency in the minimum qualifications to support career county employment. Courtney Bailey Canelos and Heng Nguyen are with me from the Department of Voter Registration to assist with any questions you might have.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm looking at the chart here. The management chart, this one here. And there are certain classes here. The campaign services has an election assistant. But then you move over to the precinct operations, they have an election assistant and a senior election assistant. And then you move over to the registration and outreach, they have an assistant and a senior election assistant. But the outreach program does not have the senior. The warehouse does not have the senior. The vote by mail does not have a senior. Neither does the election supervisor have a senior. So why do some classes have the senior election assistant and some don't?
Are you looking at the org chart, Mr. Chairman? Is that what you're
Yes.
looking at? So the organizational chart that's in the packet is really just for informational purposes to show you how these classifications are utilized within the department itself. And so the department determines where best to use these particular classifications based on their needs and the work that's performed by those particular sections. So if there isn't a particular classification within a section, it's because the department has determined that there is not that work that needs to be performed in that particular section. But that's not really before this commission. It's really just that's information for you just to kind of see how they utilize the classifications throughout their department.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from commissioners?
Yeah, got a couple here, hold on. Oh, on the election assistant class, one of the jobs is to be driving a forklift. Maybe you could talk about that a little bit. That's a little curious.
I believe that is directly in relation to the amount of voter materials that comes in, but I think Courtney can probably speak more specifically to that.
Yes, so we have our staff in the warehouse department that gets certified on the forklift and goes through actually the county training to be certified on the forklift. And we have, I think, 3 right now that are certified to use the forklift, and it is for the movement of voting equipment during election time.
They don't do that all the time. Is that
No,
correct?
not unless there's some other big project where we're getting in maybe voting equipment or moving things around. But for the most part, it's only utilized during the election.
Okay.
It looks like
Mhm.
Commissioner Johnson, or I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, do you have more questions?
Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Just one question. We have, all right, we've eliminated internal and external MQs with this. As I guess the new buzzword is streamlining. And is the intent of this because of this county council or court decision sometime in the past? Is that basically the goal of how the stimulus to do that was made? Or was
yes,
it, I mean, was, okay.
There's really no reason to require additional experience of external candidates. There's no merit to saying that experience gained in the elections office in Santa Clara County is not just as preparatory as experience gained in the Sacramento County elections office. As long as it's the elections experience, then that's still sufficient to meet the minimum qualifications.
Okay. But what you're also saying in that statement is the experience gained in working for Sacramento County has little or no value and is equal. And that creating a career ladder where people can move up, which you are though, it's something I'd like to read that opinion. I kind of thought it looked pretty good beforehand, but if you're required to do this, and I agree with you, it is expanding the pool, and if the people are qualified is a good thing. And you are expanding it to what the election system within the state of California.
Are there further questions?
Yeah, I have a question on the election clerk and the election assistant. They both seem very similar in what they do, and I wonder why there's two different classifications.
They are similar. The difference in the classifications is that the election clerk is a temporary position and there are no permanent appointments made from that classification. And the reason for that is because during the election season, the number of staff is increased. Courtney could give exact numbers probably, or closer ballpark numbers, but probably 10 to 20 times their normal staffing rates. So that's not something that is sustainable year round for the department because it's not needed. So during the election actual process of the voting and the ballot casting, during that time frame, there is an influx of temporary employees where there is no permanent appointments.
So these people know up front that
That's
they're
correct.
temporary?
That is correct.
So does that temporary employment then, I presume, qualify them to become a permanent election clerk or election assistant, I mean?
Yes, in fact, we've added an additional MQ to that election assistant so that they only need 6 months in that temporary position rather than a full year to be able to meet that MQ so that we can encourage that movement more readily.
So there's another curious item here that I noticed, and that was, and I don't know quite understand why this is in here, but you've delineated here what the election people are supposed to do and when they're supposed to do it on week 25, week 22, 18, 17, 16. Are you trying to dictate to these people what they're supposed to be doing, or why you have this in here?
That was just informational purposes for you to illustrate the cycle of work to support the 12-month probationary period, to show how the the regulatory process of voting. It's a very controlled process, and it's very deadline and timeline driven. And it does take a full year to get through the cycle of an election.
And I totally.
It was just
agree with that
informational
1 year,
for you.
yeah. I agree with that 1 year probation. I don't have a problem with that. Okay. Gentlemen, any other comments or discussion here? All right, then we'll have a vote, if you please.
Before we go to a motion, Mr. Chairman, if we can ask if there's any public comment?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
No
I forget
public
about
comment
these guys,
received.
yeah.
Okay. And before you have my recommendation, which would be to revise the classification plan to include the changes of minimum qualifications and other changes to the following classes within the election series: election clerk, election assistant, senior election assistant, election supervisor, election manager, and the assistant registrar of voters. And then that you refer those recommendations to the Board of Supervisors for their concurrence.
So
So
moved.
moved.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Purdy made the motion and Commissioner Suter second. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Miss Gina, would you please give a roll call?
Okay. Commissioner Blois, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Purdy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Suter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Let the record show the motion has been adopted.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're on to Miss Alice.
Yes, my verbal report to the commission. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And again, thank you to all the commissioners for your patience as we move over into the Zoom world. I think we finally got the cameras and the microphones to work. So that's great news. And we're all prepped and ready to go for our next meeting, which is scheduled for April 9th. However, in light of COVID restrictions, our next meeting will actually be on April 23rd. So by then, I think we'll be Zoom experts and we'll be able to meet very easily. At that April 23rd meeting, you will consider the recommendations to the county's classification plan stemming from the airport's deputy director series and the construction labor compliance series. That meeting again should be conducted via Zoom. At the commission's May 21st meeting, you're scheduled to adopt your meeting schedule for the 2021-22 fiscal year. In addition, you may have an appeal hearing at that time, but actually, I doubt you will. So right now, we've got your meeting schedule on that particular agenda, and then there may be a class study as well. We're a couple months out, so we'll just need to wait and see what happens on that end. I wanted to just report that I received an exam disqualification appeal today, but I will be rejecting it because the commission does not have jurisdiction. In this case, the individual is attempting to appeal an exam that she was not disqualified from, and that was given 4 years ago. In addition, I received a release from probation appeal just before this meeting commenced. Currently, we have 5 releases from probation appeals, 1 exam disqualification, and 1 allocation appeal pending before the commission. Let's see, I also wanted to just give you a heads up that I conducted a preliminary review of the facility manager class study. I also conducted a secondary review of the proposed 2020 Airport Deputy Director Series class study and a tertiary review on the Construction Labor Compliance Series class study. So it has been a very busy week here at the commission offices. And that concludes my report.
So question, Alice,
Yes.
that appeal, is there a time limit on that? You said it was 4 years old?
Yes, it was an exam. In that instance, the individual was appealing something that didn't happen because she wasn't disqualified. So I'm not really sure what she was trying to appeal, but yes, if you're disqualified from an exam, you have 30 calendar days from the date of that notice to file your appeal with the commission.
Okay.
So all the timelines are in our rules.
Very good. Okay. I think we're at the end of this great, fabulous Zoom meeting here. So, Mr. Johnson.
I had a couple questions for our executive officer. Dealing with appeals, and I've expressed before, I'm concerned that we have not been able to hear those on a timely manner. And it's very differential or very hard for those people that are appealing. Alice, you've expressed in the past that our county council has had some difficulty responding to get to a hearing officer. And if I remember right, this commission directed you to send a letter urging them to be more due diligent. Have you sent the letter? Has there been a response, or hopefully a development of a better cooperative nature than it appears it is? So where is that at?
So what I wanted to do was to wait until we just received a release from probation appeal today. So what I wanted to do to make the conversation relevant, because the last time we had to schedule a release from probation appeal for administrative hearing was several months ago, and we haven't received any new ones for some time. So I wanted the conversation to be in the present. So what's going to happen is once this release from probation appeal gets moving, if I have any difficulties in scheduling that, then I want to then send that letter to so I can use a current example in addition to previous examples of where we've had difficulties. But I wanted to have a current example to point to. So and that is a letter that's coming from the chairman. So I'll be working with him.
And that was up, Mike. That was my understanding also.
Yes.
Okay.
We weren't going to just send a letter, that she was going to work on something that either talk to county council or have a detailed, most recent case, as opposed to going back a year or so. So that was my understanding too.
And that probably is more prudent. My concern is if county council is not receptive to that, we're dragging out these appeals even longer, and that's not good. But I going with what you suggested, and Alice suggested, I think, is trying to do the honorable thing and giving them some respect. You know, I'm not trying to get in your face. I just want to work together. So we got that appeal, and we'll see how it works out. But thank you. At least I know where that. Would you let us know, Alice? I guess how that does go. I'm sure you're going to.
Yes, I will absolutely report that out to you once that happens. You bet.
Okay. There was another request, I believe, we made of DPS back in December. And I think that was asking for information on continuous exams or testing. And I didn't know approximately where that is. I was left with the impression that we were going to get it sometime in March, but I don't know where it is now.
Yes, we did receive a response from DPS for additional information for continuous exams. And I will, it's pretty much just a request. And so I can put it on the agenda for the next meeting as an informational item. There won't be information so much from me, but I can just attach this report because we have those 2 class studies. So my focus is going to be on those, but I can include this or on your next agenda if you so wish.
Yeah, I would just kind of like to know where it is and learn more a little bit about it. A simple request, I hate to keep bugging you, sometime along the line, dealing with our oversight review and our oversight role. One is we get that report from student class appointments. I've been on the commission a long time and I'm not too sure why we get that report. So I don't want to waste DPS's time having to do one. I would like maybe, we've made many requests over the years of what our oversight role is and what we're requesting. And if we don't need it, to stop asking for it and making them work. And maybe there are other things we might need.
Yes, and that was, I am not sure, we kind of talked about that offline, and I was trying to look through the rules to see if there was a requirement for that report. And I did not see a requirement in the rules. I would want to just defer to our commission counsel to also take a look at the rules to make sure I didn't miss something in them, but
Sure.
if there isn't a requirement by the rules, then it was a request by the commission at some point in time to have that information. And if it was a request, then certainly the commission can request not to receive that report. But we'll get with legal, our counsel, just to confirm that I read the rules correctly, that there is no rule requirement that that report be provided. And if that's the case, then I can let you know.
I'm sure the commission sometime in the past requested it and had an extremely good reason to do that. I just don't know what it is.
I don't
I'm
either.
not so sure it was a good reason, but
Ah, you cynic.
yeah, I know. Alice,
Yes.
I want to mention that I will not be here on the next meeting. However, if I am, I will be from an airport. And I will not have seen the agenda or the minutes, but I will call in and go along with the program.
All
Would
right,
you
well,
like me to vote for you?
No, that's okay. I will call in and I will have the background of hula dancers, okay? And
That's
that's
nice.
that's not in politically correct. That's part of the state of Hawaii. So hula dancers are either male or female.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Suter. I have that noted for the purposes of the record. Thank you. Are
Yes.
there any other questions?
Okay, somebody will make a motion here.
So
I
it'll be a
move we
motion.
adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn and seconded. Miss Gino, you vote, please.
Okay. Commissioner Blois, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Purdy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Suter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good.
All right, thank you, everyone. This concludes our March 19th meeting of the Civil Service Commission, and we appreciate it. Everyone have a great weekend.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.